Hello and welcome to Newbie Prepping, Campfire Talks. I believe this is episode 4. I'm Rich.
And I'm Mark.
How are you doing today, Mark? You alright?
Doing good. It's a nice breezy day.
It is indeed.
It's stopped raining.
Yeah, and we're out a bit later than usual, so it is quite dark, but we've got the fire here to light ourselves up. But it's all about the talking, so
yeah. And
either
if you're
way,
listening
it's
on
fine.
a podcast,
Makes no difference to you.
just listen to our voices. It will send you to sleep maybe, but...
Our soothing, dulcet tones, I do believe they call it.
Once upon a time.
We should do audiobooks. Not with my horrible voice. Anyway, so the main thing that we're going to be talking about today is a TV movie by the name of Blackout. Now, there's 1,000,001 movies called Blackout, but this one was made in 2013. Here's the poster for it in the middle of the video here. Again, sorry if you're on Spotify, you can't see it. Just look it up. There was also an American version called American Blackout in 2013 also. I think that they might have been made at the same time. They're pretty much exactly the same. But there is another version, another American Blackout that was made in 2006. Got nothing to do with this. It's about voting, voting stalls or whatever they're called, whatever you use over there. Anyway, so this is Blackout that we're talking about. Personally, I first heard about this last time.
From me?
From Mark, yep, absolutely.
And I did mention it once before, a long time ago, and of stuff to watch. But with the winter, what we're coming into, and the potential risk of having blackouts, we thought it'd be quite relevant to talk about it again.
Absolutely, and especially, right, so we're going to talk about the movie and then get to spoilers after. If you haven't seen the movie, please go and watch it. Someone has uploaded it to YouTube. Mark, you said it was free domain or something, so it was allowed to be on YouTube? Is it public domain?
I don't know, but it's on YouTube.
So it's on YouTube.
Yeah, it's on YouTube, and I know it was a Channel 4 production.
Yeah.
Because it comes up every now and again, you've got Blackout, then Channel 4 appears. All the adverts have been cut out.
Indeed, yeah. I do know, however, that it is on Amazon Prime in the UK. I'm not sure about anywhere else. So if it's not public domain, then go use Amazon Prime and purchase it via Amazon Prime. Don't pirate it. Piracy's bad.
If it's on YouTube, it's in the public domain. And if it was going to be pirated, if there was infringement of copyright, it would be taken down.
To be fair, that upload has been there since 2015.
Yeah, so it's been there a long while.
Exactly, yeah. So you'll find it nice and easily. Anyway, I'm going to get my little script out here. It's not quite a script, it's just a bunch of notes. Hopefully I'll be able to see it. Yeah, I can see it. I've just got a few notes because I don't want to meander around too much and say a lot, which I usually do. Yeah,
this is a paperback novel.
Yeah, I've gone old school because, I'm using my other phone as a microphone. I want to preface all of this, talking about the movie, by saying that preppers aren't conspiracy theorists. We say this a lot on this channel, specifically I do. We prep for what can happen. And what is a blackout? What's a blackout, Mark?
Blackout, in modern terms, is where you have no form of light or power during the course of day or night. So in terms of blackout means that you're just in the dark.
Indeed, yes.
So you're in the dark of what's going on because you can't get the radio stations unless you've got an old
DAB
or a wind-up radio. Which we do have. And at night, obviously, there's no electric, so you're going to be a candlelight or oil burners and stuff like that.
Exactly. So no electricity, can't communicate with others because all of the other companies will lose their electricity as well, like phone companies and all that. Even like water companies, like you won't be able to get water from a tap. Is that right?
Right. So with the water companies, they will have backup generators. But it's only a backup generator, so you're only going to get that as long as the backup generator lasts.
Indeed.
Now, if there's a massive blackout, what affects the whole of the UK or whole of a country, the only way of really communicating is through a landline telephone, because they run off a separate power source.
Yeah.
So you'll be able to communicate that way for a little while.
Oh.
Obviously, your mobile phones you'll be able to use while they're still charged.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
So if you've got battery packs or a way of charging them, then you can carry on using them.
Solar power.
But the initial, when the blackout first happens, the grids, telephone grids, could go down because everyone's going to be, I can't get home. Are you okay? I need help. So there's going to be a massive surge of people trying to use their mobile phones, and generally the cells just like have to reboot or go down for a little while and come back up.
Yeah.
Generally the same sort of thing happens like New Year's Eve, or after something major happens, like obviously 9/11 or a terrorist attack. Everyone gets on their phone either to report it, upload videos and stuff like that.
Yeah, doing their vlogging and stuff. So, of course, we know what a blackout is now. Everyone's familiar with a blackout. So, what if this was to happen for an extended period of time? Say, like in this movie, what it is a cyber attack. The premise of the movie, a blackout has happened and it's going on for 7 days. I personally believe that the movie paints a really good picture, a really realistic picture of what could happen if a blackout occurred in this country. I haven't seen the American one. Usually American stuff is a bit more dramatized, but when I watched this movie, which is made up of actors and real footage from like real riots and everything, honestly, there were some points where I couldn't tell them apart. I didn't know if some of it was acted and some of it was real. And honestly, that's a complete credit to the people who made the movie. So yeah, well done to them for that. And I'll also say as well that this is probably the first movie in my adult life that has actually terrified me while watching it. Like no Hollywood movie has actually scared me. Like yeah, sure, like I've been tense in like tense situations, but watching a whole movie, I haven't been frightened while watching it until I saw this.
Really?
Just because of how realistic it looks, man.
Okay.
Like honestly, like because as I was watching it, I felt like I was right there. Like I don't know why, but it just got to me, and I'm sure a lot of people watched it as well and thought like, right, that's it. I'm gonna start collecting stuff just in case. So the movie focuses on a number of characters: a single mother, a couple of friends, a brother and a sister, and a prepper and his family. Not a prepping family, a prepper and his family. It's important to get that distinction. And the real footage is, of course, probably stock footage and found footage of real riots and stuff. The movie itself, I don't think it's coming off as preachy, because the other people in the movie that aren't the prepper, they don't come off as like dumb or stupid, and they don't just die off straight away. Well, there is some characters who come off as dumb and stupid, but it's clearly done on purpose. So I will say, don't worry, like if you're not a prepper and you're just watching this anyway, don't worry about, like, well, don't think like, oh, I don't want to watch this, oh, it's just going to preach at me and tell me that I should be prepping and all that. No, it doesn't. It doesn't tell you to do it, but after you watch it, you're going to want to do it. In my opinion.
You may want to be a loosely prepper. When you see when you watch the movie, you think, oh, I might as well just get some candles, just in case there is a blackout.
Honestly, yeah.
And even if you just get candles, that would be enough, because then you can see at night. You're not going to be as scared, because everyone's scared at the dark, you know. Yeah. So
that's exactly it. Like exactly like we were talking about in the last episode. To be prepared doesn't mean that you have to be, quote unquote, a prepper. To be prepared, you can just have some paper money at home, some cans of food, because in this movie, they cite that as being a real problem. Like a lot of like cutaway characters that's in the movies, like in the movie for just like a few seconds, they say like, "Oh, I just went to the ATM. I can't get any money out, so I've only got this little amount of money to do for however long." So again, like it sort of helps reinforce our point from last time about you don't have to be like 100% all in sort of prepper. You can be prepared without being quote unquote a prepper. I think it's rather geniusly written because the character stories encompass like various different scenarios and various different areas of like different situations you would be in if you were caught in a blackout or if you were still at home, which rather nicely brings us on to the spoiler section. So if you haven't seen the movie, then go and watch the movie because we're about to talk about the things that are in the movie.
Yeah.
Okay. So naturally, we're going to talk about the prepper at length and his story because, well, we're preppers too, but also his situation is very close to what would be the situation that most people are in because he and his family are at home,
yep.
which is where most people would be. So what's your take on the kids in the hospital and what happens to the hospital?
Well, that's generally what would happen. Now, yes, in the story that the hospitals are prioritised for getting fuel.
Yeah.
And fuel stations, there's it says back in 2013,
2014.
so probably it was made the year before, so they was going on the facts what they had then. Yeah, and when Channel 4 does these movies, they do get quite a lot of factually right. They turned around and said there's only 6% of garages what have backup generators. Yeah, so I guess these would be strategically placed around the country.
Yeah.
So if something did happen, that the government can say, right, let's get the fuel. They've got the backup generators. They're self-sufficient now.
Yeah.
Yeah, because obviously they just get the oil straight away.
Exactly.
And then they can actually fill up the tankers to take it to the hospitals, government buildings, and the emergency services. So
you're saying what happens in the movie wouldn't likely happen?
No, it would play out roughly to that.
Okay.
But one thing what they're forgetting, is the amount of traffic what's on the road, and the locations of hospitals. Yeah. Yeah. So obviously, I don't know where these garages are. The 6%. Yeah. So if you've got like Great Ormond Street, which is in the middle of London.
Yeah.
Quite a lot of, especially around London, a lot of hospitals are in London itself.
Yeah.
So if you've got a lot of cars trying to get petrol because they're panic buying, as we saw recently. Yeah. Right. And they run out of petrol. Yeah. While they're trying to get petrol, there's a lot of traffic on the road. You're going to have a lot of people writing eventually.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the longer it goes on, the worse the situation will be. So at the beginning, the government has to communicate with the police force around the country to let them know what's going on. Yeah. Then obviously with the army, because the army would be called in to actually make sure they can do the deliveries safely, because obviously Joe Blogg's driving an oil tanker. He could come under attack by the public because he's got oil, or petrol, so there's a lot of potential risks of looting and stealing the actual tanker as long as it goes on. So yes, they will get fuel, and their backup generator will kick in, but their backup generator is not as good as normal power. So they would have to reserve power somewhere. Yeah.
Well, what happens in the movie is they use up their first generator, backup generator, and then they're down to the batteries. Yeah. So, like, are you saying it's more unrealistic that they would go without that much fuel? Because in the movie, the crisis is that hospital hasn't received their fuel. Like the nurse is saying, like, I'm sure they're doing their job, but we just haven't got the fuel yet.
I think that depending where the hospital is, if you've got an hospital like, let me try and think of one, what's out on the outskirts, Newham General. Yeah, it's quite close to the A13. Yeah, and the oil plants are at the other end of the A13.
Yeah.
So that one would be quite easy for them to get to. Oh, my phone. Quite easy to get to. But to get to Great Ormond Street, which is more, or Whitechapel Hospital, London Hospital,
Yeah.
it's going to be a lot harder because they're closer to the city. And there's a potential of more traffic being on the road, unattended, locked, abandoned. Do you know what I mean? Even burnt out.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so getting to some hospitals, it would be exactly like what you're seeing. They would be down to battery, and you might even find that they might move some of the patients to an outlying hospital, like Newham General or St Peter's, because they're further out, and so they'll be able to get to the patients further out. So they're guaranteed certain hospitals to be open constantly, and actually move the staff to the new hospital because they can constantly refill that one, so it's up all the time, and there's not a risk of, you know. And they would just be walk-in treatment rooms. Yeah. You know, and just have when they've got power, they're open, and when they're not, you know. I could be talking completely crap, you know, but you got to think of.
Seems logical.
Yeah. But you got to think of. Most of the government's plans is all local. Yeah, because like with the floods, it's not not the whole country is called to arms type thing. It's just like a local area is flooded, so it's the local team what looks after it.
Yeah.
If they need the army for assistance, they call the army in, but generally it's the local army what's barracked nearby.
Yeah.
You know, so and we got when there's floods, there's communications are still up, so it's easier for them to communicate. With a blackout, it's not going to be as easy, you know, to communicate to everyone everywhere. You know, yes, the army's going to have their radios, you know, which would be battery powered. They have their own generators, but their own generators need petrol as well. So they'll be able to communicate quite a bit. But the longer it goes on, the potential is more and more would start failing, even for a short time. Yeah. You know, it will fail, then the next morning they'll get some more. So they may even move people around so they can concentrate on fewer hospitals than all the hospitals. Yeah. You know, for me it would seem more logical. Because you can guarantee an hospital to be up and running closer to, you know, the main arteries, instead of running the risk of getting into the city, you know, and navigating rioters and stuff like that.
Yeah, indeed. That's actually a problem that one of the other characters comes up against eventually. Yeah. Well, moving swiftly on to that character, the next one we'll talk about is the single mother. The single mother, she goes cross country because she needs to get to her mother, which is in Southampton, and she has to, starting from somewhere, I don't even know. So it's essentially...
No, she was going up to Sheffield.
Sheffield, is it?
She was going up to Sheffield.
I knew it'd begin with this.
She was, I think, she was like South London or Kent or...
Yeah. So how far would you say that is?
Oh, it's a long way. It's good, like 300 miles, I think. 400-500 miles.
Yeah, it's a pretty long way.
From where they was going. Now, obviously, the advice from the government was to stay indoors. Yeah. Obviously, the woman's mum lived alone in a block of flats.
Yeah, so she needed to get there.
Obviously, her mobile phone carrier went down. So I can't remember if she tried the landline.
I don't think that she did.
No. But then, how many people? There's not many people who have mobile phones and a landline, unless you've got. You know, you might take that landline phone away, so you might not actually have the phone to operate your landline. You know.
Yeah, a lot of people just throw away their landlines because mobile phone.
Yeah.
Who cares?
So, obviously, ignoring the government advice, she went out on the road, and on
put
a
herself
long,
in a lot of danger, I would say.
doing a long distance travelling, you really have to think about what you're going to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how much normally that sort of journey, you should be able to do a full tank of petrol, and it should get you there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you've not got a full tank of petrol, yeah, if you go to the first garage and you know you're not getting fuel, expect that all the way along.
Yeah.
You know, if they're saying it's only for emergency services, you're not going to find another petrol garage what's going to be saying, oh, here you go, I can give you some petrol. You know, especially if it's the government said only emergency services. You know, so what she'd done was
admirable but stupid. Yeah,
just panic.
You know,
she was worried about her mum, which, you know, commendable, and then she just drove out, but then she put herself and her child at risk.
Yeah. I mean, very specifically, she got into a car with a guy that turned out he had a ankle bracelet on.
Yep.
So he claimed that he just got into a bar fight and that he was a good guy and all that. And to be fair, like he seems pretty sound in the film, but like you never know.
Yep.
You don't know.
Yep.
Like it's never confirmed in the movie. Her story just kind of finishes when she manages to get to her mother's place. Totally pointless journey, by the way, because the mother is being looked after by one of the neighbours. So it was totally pointless to make that journey. I think that says a hell of a lot
about people.
Yeah.
You know, people. See, in case when things get bad, it's just like when it was going through like a war. People do band together. You know, and get a bit blowy.
It is, yeah.
People do band together and try and help each other. Especially the older generation would do that. The younger generation generally wouldn't do that for some reason. And that's where you get the rioting. And this is not against the younger generation, but when you see rioting going on in the streets, you don't see an old woman with a cane walking down the street saying, "Oh, I'm going to break it into shops." It's always youngsters, you know, or you don't see a mum carrying a child, you know, throwing a petrol bomb into a car.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Exactly, that's right.
It's generally young men, and when they go rioting, it's opportunists. What can they get? What can they get?
Indeed, yeah. It's quite funny. The character that we're going to talk about later actually says about that as well. They're just grabbing a bunch of TVs and everything. What for?
Yeah, there's no power.
Yeah. So the next characters that we're going to talk about, and the final characters before the prepper, are two typical lads. They've got no cares in the world, and it's all just a big joke to them. They don't care, and they're clearly morally. Well, they don't have very many morals, because throughout the movie they're like happily stealing. They steal food and drink, and even steal a car at one point. But the movie is really trying to paint the picture that like a lot of people will just not take it seriously, and see things as an opportunity. And when we first meet these two characters, one of the characters even says that he's got to get home to his kid, and yet that's the only time he mentions it throughout the movie. So like you can really tell that like this character is meant to be like a bad sort of character. Like clearly like he doesn't care that much.
I think it's those two lads were to represent not that they're stupid, the stupid things that people would do.
Yeah.
You know, when they're far from home, all you think about is getting home. You know, and so they went to the train station, and there's no power, so the trains weren't working. They mentioned about the diesel trains, but they was somewhere else on a different line. But even a diesel train running would be quite dangerous, because how would it know where the next train is?
Indeed, yeah.
You know, so they probably would run, but they would run a lot slower. So you wouldn't get high-speed trains going around. There was one bit where they slept by. At the beginning, you saw them at night, and then you saw them again in the morning, and they was waking up by the beach. You know, and they went and looked for food, and they found some fish and chips what was left
In a
from the
bin.
night before in a bin, you know. But I wouldn't say that people would do that straight away.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually they would.
Yeah.
You know. I mean, he goes to a shop and he comes back with a bottle of vodka and some pasties.
Yeah.
Now, if you think about what food you got, he just goes, ah!
Yeah.
And he's like making a mockery of the food.
Indeed.
Now, it should, if that's all he could get, that means there's a shortage. Now, I can't remember if he stole it or bought it.
Oh, he definitely stole it. He
Yeah.
said the best thing about Blackout, no CCTV.
Right. So if that's all he stole, there weren't much there, or that's all he could get because other people were taking it.
Yeah.
You know.
I don't think it's actually specified. I don't think he specifies whether he chose the vodka over the water or if he could only grab vodka.
Yeah. So obviously, but it just shows like the stupidity of what people would take.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know? And they obviously start walking along the track lines. Obviously, in one way, if you know there's no trains, it's quite a safe way of travelling. No one's going to really notice you moving around on train lines because there's no one going to be on them. Obviously, if there's potential of trains running, it is quite dangerous. You know? But the roads would have been clogged up because the amount of traffic what was on the roads after the blackout, because accidents would happen.
Yeah.
You know, and at the beginning, if especially because it happened at night, you know, you're not gonna get all the emergency services out to every single accident.
Yeah.
You know.
Indeed.
So there's going to be a lot of traffic on the road, and that's going to cause tailbacks. People will run out of petrol that night because quite a lot of people don't anticipate having a full tank of petrol every time they go out. You know, it's got about £10 worth. It get me to A to B,
and that's perfectly represented in the movie.
Yeah, people run out of petrol, and then with the no power, you can't use ATMs.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so you can't get cash out. You can't pay for anything with your card. So, you know, and then it goes down to them stealing.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so they break into a car, they record themselves, and they take the mickey of saying, "Oh, next time we steal your car, mate." You know, and they actually show the name of the person.
Yeah, which is
like,
crazy.
Obviously, they're admitting to a theft if they ever post it up. You know.
Yeah.
If we next time we steal your car, mate, make sure you have a full tank of petrol.
Yeah.
You know.
See, because these guys are so separated from everything else, I wonder, did they even know there was like a fuel shortage going on?
I would have reckoned they would have done, because obviously it's a movie, and the bits what you don't see is they won't be the only ones.
Yeah.
You know, when you look at that, when they started off at that beach, they was the only ones there. There was no other traffic.
Yeah.
Because obviously the production company would have closed off the traffic so they could film. When they was at the station, they wouldn't have been the only ones there.
Yeah,
there would have been people thinking, "Oh, how long is the blackout going to be?" Because it's the very next morning.
Yeah.
You know, and some people would have got up and say, "Oh, let's see if it's going to be working." You know, so people are very much they go into the habit mode.
Yeah.
You know, and there was one of that. Do you remember the movie about the Chinese survival family?
Oh yeah, Survival Family. Yeah.
Survival Family. They ended up going to work.
Yeah.
Because that's what was expected to them. And you will find some people will try and get into work because, well, I've got to go work because I get paid.
Yeah.
And they're worried about losing their job, or you know. But then when they get to work, they get told to go home. That's fine, but they will still go just in case.
Yeah.
You know?
That's it.
So then you've got the potential of people going there because they've not been told to stay at home.
Yeah.
Because they've not spoken to any police officers or MPs and stuff like that. Because they wouldn't have known, because there's been no TV. They can't turn on the radio.
People wouldn't even know that it was UK wide. They would probably think it was just isolated to them. Yeah.
And the problem what we got, especially in Northern Ireland, is because we have power cuts quite often. If a power cut happened over here now, we'll think, I'll be on in a couple of hours.
Indeed, yeah.
You know? But that could be the grid down completely, and we wouldn't know about it.
Yeah.
You know, it would only be if we get a phone call from on the mobile phones,
Yeah.
if that, or a message what comes up. You know, so especially if you're going to be contacting someone, send a message. It's a lot easier.
Yeah.
And it generally
Less
will get
battery.
it will get through, and it doesn't overload the system.
Yeah.
You know?
Indeed. That's the problem with blackouts, though, is that people will get like very complacent with them. So I remember even in my childhood, we had like a couple of blackouts that lasted like a night and like half of the rest of the day. So like there's all of that time, and even if it lasted for like 2 days, maybe that's when people start wondering, okay, what's going on here? But like my point is like something very serious could be happening, but people will just be like, oh, there it goes again, blackout, well, hey, time to get the board games out. But yeah, it could end up being very much more serious. And of course the story ends with the two guys. Like the two guys' story ends with them trying to steal fuel directly from a tanker by getting a screwdriver and piercing a hole in it. And they fill up like a plastic bottle and put it directly into the car, but like something goes wrong with it. Something happens to the car, and they basically, long story short, they accidentally light a spark, and it ends up blowing everything up. They run away, and then they turn the camera, and then you see an explosion, and then everything kind of like shakes, and then you never hear from them again. I was saying to Mark before, like me thinking more in movie terms, is the movie trying to imply that they died from that explosion? Because it was quite far away.
They was, when they turned the camera and saw the big explosion, they was too far away.
Yeah, I thought so.
They could have got knocked over. They would have ringing in their ears.
Yeah.
But they were, because it was quite a distance away. But potentially, they wouldn't have got that far away.
Yeah. I know, I did think it took a very long time to
Or was
explode.
that someone else recording it? I can't remember if you hear their voices. I think you do. But potentially they wouldn't have got that far away. And the tanker would have exploded. Because the tanker was going, it was leaking straight from the tanker on the floor. And you saw the flames go across the courtyard. So that would have been a large explosion. So technically they wouldn't have survived because they couldn't got that. They wouldn't have got that far away. Yeah,
definitely not.
But yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Well, I think that's perfect allegory for what a lot of people that aren't really taking it seriously. That's how a lot of people's stories might end, by doing something dangerous that might cause them harm. Well, anyway, we'll talk about the main attraction, which is the prepper. So from the start, we see that he's got a YouTube channel.
A blog.
A YouTube blog, yes.
A YouTube blog, yeah. He's got a blog.
Indeed, yeah. Oh, it is specified that it's YouTube later on.
Yeah. At the beginning, he's uploading it to his blog.
Indeed, yeah. So he's got like a generator, and he's showing that he's like growing food, and his his blog or whatever, it's called Sustainability in something or something. I don't know. Point is, he's a prepper, and he's got all of this stuff, and basically when it all hits a fan, he seems quite gleeful about it, and his wife.
Smug. He is quite smug.
His wife actually asks him about it, and he's like, well, I am happy. And needless to say, things go a little awry.
So at that point, a real prepper wouldn't be happy about it.
No.
They wouldn't be thinking of, see, I've been proven right. They don't think of it. They'd be thinking, right, what do I need to do?
Yeah.
How do I keep my family safe?
Absolutely.
You know, they go into the mode what they've been practicing for. You know, as soon as because he mentioned about well, let's do it in order as it happens.
Yeah, of course.
So he starts cooking some food on his. I think he actually got a log stove out, didn't he?
Yeah.
And they're cooking away, and a neighbour pokes his head over the wall and says, "Oh, yeah, we've got some burgers here." So they invite him in. Yes, very good idea. But community spirit. You know,
Exactly,
you
yeah.
could do that. You know, but if you do, you don't really let on about what else you've got. You know, you make
Yeah.
it seem like, oh, you know, obviously we're using up the
Everyone's
frozen
struggling.
food. We've got a couple of cans left.
Mhm.
We're gonna have to go to the. You know, you make it look like you're gonna go out looking for food as well.
Yeah.
You know, so they cook up the food. The boy has got a camcorder and he's recording. He gets asked to turn it off because he wants to save the battery. And he says, well, we can charge it up on the generator.
Biggest facepalm moment of the
Yeah.
entire thing. Oh my god. I wanted to slap that child.
And,
I don't slap children. Just say that.
and so...
And the neighbour's like, oh, you got a generator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that night he goes on, does a little YouTube video, says, oh, I've got a generator, I can't turn it on because people would hear it.
Yeah.
You know, and I think we mentioned this before when we spoke about the thing, about the movie. It's like, you didn't really think about your preps. If you can't use it,
then what's it there for?
Yeah, why you got it?
Yeah, exactly.
So it carries on that the neighbour comes back wanting to use the generator.
But he comes in through the garden.
Yeah.
Like, so he had clearly jumped over the wall, and of course the prepper is like, no, I want you to leave, blah, 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 says all of that. And the wife's like, oh, we should have just let him. And he was like, no, this is survival.
Yeah.
Which is very true. I mean, like, which is why you shouldn't have accepted the guy's invite in the first place, because, I mean, you shouldn't have let the guy in the first place because, you know, it makes him think like, oh, we'll just come over again and again. All right, guys, we've had to move the camera a little bit here, just because it was getting a bit dark.
A bit dark.
A little bit dark.
The fire's still going, though.
Yeah, still going. Just before we continue on with the chronological events of his story, he does show that he's collecting water.
Yeah.
And he's got like a bunch of flasks and stuff. And then he says about collecting water from his radiator. It's all brown and stuff, but he says that he can just
purification tablets.
Purify it. That's the one. That's the word. And you're good to go. I must say I did research this at one point, and there was a lot of people on this one forum saying about there's too much risk of antifreeze being in the radiator for it to be viable.
Yeah. If it's your radiator and you've put the water in there, then that's fine. But if you're going into a house, then some people don't lag their pipes that well, and they put antifreeze in there.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say they're not meant to, but do you know what I mean? It's some people do, some people don't. So you got to smell it, and you obviously you will smell the difference. So, but it didn't look good.
Hot. It did not look good at all. So getting back to where we were before.
So they've come in looking for the barbecue generator.
Yeah.
And it was that night, or the following night, they actually got raided.
Yeah.
He got beat up, and they took the generator. They took the food what they had.
And he was set back to square one. He was no longer a prepper anymore. He was just a regular Joe.
Yep. He ended up going to the food drop-off points.
Yeah, the relief points.
Yeah.
There's no relief here, no relief to be found. So at the end of it, he had to try going into a store to test his luck. He was saying, oh, I'm recording this to be held accountable and I intend to pay for anything that I take. But he meets someone in there.
Yep.
And a fracas, or a fracas, whatever you call it, occurs, and just as he's beating up this guy with a can, the lights come back on, and you see a shot which is clearly from a CCTV camera of him kneeling over a guy with the guy spewing blood from his head.
Yeah.
So he's just been caught viciously beating someone up, possibly to death. And he just goes back out to his car and looks at his kid, and that's the end of the movie. So rather bleak. The only good ending in this entire movie is the woman's ending. But see, when I explained all of this to my friend, a different friend, he said like, oh well, like clearly it's no good being a prepper because like what good did it do that guy? All it did was make him more into a target. But you see, the thing is I would say that it advocates for a higher level of prepping, because what this guy did, like, it was just riddled with mistakes. And to be fair to the character, which I guess you don't really need to be fair to a fictional character, there is one part in the film where, towards the end, where the son says, "Can we go hunting?" And he's like, "How are we supposed to go hunting in London?" Oh, we could have gone hunting if we moved to the country like I wanted to, but your mother didn't want to. Again, harkening back to the fact that he's a prepper, but his family isn't. But yeah, I think, personally, I think his biggest mistake was bugging in. What do you think?
I reckon that he mentioned that there was rioting going on. If there's rioting going on, there's looting going on. Mm-hmm. That would have been the indication for bugging out.
Yeah,
you know, definitely. To get out. He should have a plan of where he's stored. So really, he should have kept all his stuff up in the loft. Uh-huh. It was easier defendable, you know. And as I mentioned before, you have the advantage. They can't get up there unless they come up a small hatch. Yeah. You know, and then his wife could have even been helping with a bit of wood, just banging at their hands so they can't get up there.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And they would have lost interest. It would have been too much trouble, too much hard work.
Yeah, absolutely, my man. But yeah, see, this is what we were saying before. Like, the guy, even though he had like bought all this expensive stuff, like a big generator, and he was growing food and stuff, like, yeah, he was doing all that, but he was not thinking smart whatsoever. He wasn't thinking like a prepper. Just everything he did just seemed to be a mistake. And yeah, like I say, even being in a big city and bugging in, just the worst mistakes. I mean, and to say that, like, not everyone is going to have a place where they can retreat to. Gotta say, final thoughts about the movie. I think it's got like a perfect premise to it, and it's so realistic that it's it probably does better than any like prepping YouTube channel could do to convince someone to start prepping, because everything that happened in the movie, it backs it up with facts, like as text on the screen. Yeah. Like, watching it, like, a lot of people probably wouldn't want to watch it because they would genuinely get frightened as well. And
it's something what could happen, and especially coming into this winter with all the shortages. I know on the I heard on the TV that the government's saying to businesses and industrial sites they're going to be reducing their power down. Yeah. And making sure that house owners have the power. Yeah. That's great. It means that households have the power, but then that means that people are not going to work again because it's going to be shut down. Uh-huh. And if more people people won't reserve energy, that would be the thing. It's my little girl. She's notorious for leaving the lights on. Indeed. You know, and that's where the mistake would happen.
Mm-hmm. That's it, my man. Yep. Well, what can we say? What more can we say? Watch the movie. It's on YouTube. It's on Amazon Prime. However you want to watch it.
So it's getting a bit dark. We just look like headless horsemen now.
Yeah. But yeah, that's going to be us for the evening. Yep. Safe to say we're probably not going to leave it this late again, or if we do leave it this late, we'll do it in the summer when it stays light for a long time. Yes. Yeah.
It's nice. The nice moon. It's a full moon.
It really is. But yeah, the moon is over there.
We're in a forest, so we don't get the light from it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much for watching. I'm Rich. If you can see me. Have a good one. Thank you very much for watching Newbie Prepping. Like, favorite, and subscribe. Click the bell. Check out our shirts we got for sale. Yeah. Thank you very much. See you again.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.